You're the best friend that I've ever had. Been with me such a long time. You're my sunshine. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Tim and our very special guest first time on, Mr. Ed South.
Hi.
This is the podcast where all four of us saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema Theater. And now we're going to talk about it in the parking lot in Matt's Time the Pilot. We're going to talk about such things as, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you wait for streaming? Should you miss it altogether? Should you bring snacks? Or should you hold off because maybe it's not a snack movie? Hopefully we discuss all these things, maybe more, but also remember, we make no promises here. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And Todd, is there really any movie that's not a snack movie?
Come on. Fair enough. Not for me, as it is a weekly adventure of what can I sneak into the theater.
Yes.
Tonight was a tuna sandwich and some nerd clusters.
Good job.
Yeah.
You did well. Never caught yet.
I had peanuts in my pocket, didn't get to them.
Fair. Next time.
Yeah.
They'll keep.
Yes. Was it? I think it was I Want to Dance with Somebody that I had peanuts and I coughed through the whole movie because the first thing I did was choke on a peanut.
And I think you coughed through the whole podcast, too.
I did, yeah. That did not subside, that choking on a peanut.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, welcome Tim. Welcome, Ed. You're here. And we saw a movie. So, there's no one famous in this movie other than the main woman whose name is Allison Williams. And she was in Get Out. Yeah. And I just learned that she's the daughter of NBC's Brian Williams.
They have the same last name.
You can tell.
When you started to go down was it Tim? When Tim started to go down the road of that she's got a famous dad, I was like, come on, John Williams. I don't know why. It's just the first Williams that popped in my head.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Well, anyway, there's no other famous people or robots in this movie that we saw, which is called M3gan. I didn't say that yet, but now I have said it.
Now you have, yeah.
This movie is M3gan. Mm-hmm. M3gan. Mm-hmm. It's about well, what's it about? It's about a robot girl.
Model 3 generational
Generative
Android.
Generative Android.
Generation Android? Model 3 generation Android, something like that.
Something like that. Well, anyway, that's where you get M3gan from, or M3gan as she's called in this movie. So what's it about? Well, a little girl rides in the car with her parents, and they get killed by a snowplow, and then she goes to live with her aunt, who's her aunt, who's a brilliant toy designer and has designed something called Forever Pets, but
perennial pets.
Thank you.
Perpetual.
With
purr like a cat.
Yes. Well, anyway, she works for a toy company making AI-based creatures, and she comes up with a new AI-based creature, which is M3gan, a robot android creature, who's like a little girl who is designed to pair with another child, and they become friends. That's the design. And meantime, M3gan, the robot, learns about the world around her. So, through a series of events, M3gan ends up paired with the little girl whose parents are dead, the niece of the main woman, Gemma. It's the main woman. And so things are going well. The robot has paired with the child. The toy company is excited about this robot. They're going to unveil it to the world. And the robot develops a strong connection with the little girl. And then things start to go wrong. Things start to happen. And bad things that are hidden from everyone, except for us, the audience. We kind of get to
yeah, we kind of know all the bad things.
We know all the bad things that are happening, but it takes a while before the creators of the robot realize the robot may be doing some shady things in the spirit of defending her prime objective, which is making sure that this little girl is taken care of and is safe, and there's no threats in the world that can harm her. And the robot grows in power and connection to internet and all other electronic things, and then there's a confrontation at the end, and we have to see what's going to happen with the robot and with humanity in general.
So deep.
So deep. Such a deep film. She's no small wonder, though. I'll tell you that.
Who is?
Who is? Well, so yeah, that's kind of what it's about. And Todd, why don't you start us off by telling us your gut reaction
I
to M3gan?
Would love to do that.
Great.
So I'm going to start by saying that I enjoyed this movie. Which is weird for me because it's complete nightmare fuel for me. I was scarred for life as a kid when I saw Chucky at too young of an age. And so there was a ton of anxiety for me going into this movie of being like, oh, I don't like toys that are supposed to be good turning on me. But I think there's a lot of things that I really enjoyed about this movie. I think first and foremost, I enjoyed the journey of grief in this movie, and specifically in this day and age, the parallels that they're, I don't think it's the whole point of the movie, but they're making parallels of when we experience grief, the first thing that we do nowadays is retreat to technology somehow, or retreat to other stuff as a distraction instead of processing our feelings and working through things. And I think this is taken to the 11th degree in a suspenseful horror genre, but the lessons are still there as far as taking time to actually feel your feelings and working through stuff and processing instead of just retreating to a screen or retreating to drugs or anything that is used as a escape to not face these things. So I enjoyed that aspect of the film. I thought this film had a great balance of some humor, an insane amount of just creepy awkwardness, which I think really fed the suspense for me. Like, it wasn't all about jump scares and even gore to that matter. It just was like, it used these very effective creepy moments of like the doll singing, or like just these great like moments that really, to me, sucked me in. And I was like, man, this is like awkward, but I dig the suspense that's building up inside of me of how creepy it is. And so I really enjoyed that aspect. There are, of course, some jokes in there along the way, which is just, I think, a typical norm at this point for movies. And I don't know if I thought that any of the jokes were completely out of nowhere, completely misplaced, but some of them I just were like, you're there, whatever. The acting is okay. I think that the main woman did a good job, and I think the side characters did what side characters do, but I don't know if I'd necessarily say that anyone hit this out of the park. It just is kind of there. I mean, the whole draw to this movie, having seen it now, what I would tell people is that I think it's pretty good at its storytelling. It sucks you in with the creepiness and awkwardness, and then it delivers with some okay scares and stuff like that, but it doesn't lean so heavy into scaring that it's off-putting, at least for me. I mean, I can't talk enough about the creepiness of this doll and the child actor under it, and just it's going to stick with me for a while, which I guess is what you want out of a kind of thriller, horror, suspense movie, I guess. So yeah, I recommend it. I recommend it seen in theaters. No reason not to. I definitely brought in snacks, so feel free to bring in snacks. Unless, you're queasy, then maybe don't. There's not anything super gorish in this movie, but just in case. But yeah, I mean, this is going to get a positive review. It's not going to hit a 5. It's not the perfect movie. It's not the best movie I've ever seen. But for what it is and the genre and the fact that already I'm not that much of a scary movie person anyway, I enjoyed this ride. So that is where I'm going to end it. Let's go with Tim. How'd you feel about this old M3gan? Forgot the end part there for a second.
I also agree that this genre isn't my favorite. I also remember Child's Play at a young age, and I don't think I went down the whole journey of Chucky movies after that, nor have I watched the show revival. But something about this, even with the trailers leading up to it, was like, this looks like this is a self-aware version of a Chucky type movie, and I would argue that it is. Like, there's almost a twisted sense of humor in it, and a wink and a nod at the audience while it's telling the story, as if to say, we know what you're here for, and come enjoy how creepy and over the top this is, but not over the top too much. Just like, you're here for this, and we're going to give it to you. And I think that was what helped make it work. The movie opens with a fantastic parody of like those toy commercials that exist in the Furby era, etc. Kind of toys that, they can poop themselves and all that. But there's something about it that's like a wink and a nod involved in it. Like, yeah, these are ridiculous. Let's take that to the next level. And here you go. And join the ride. And I agree. It was a ride. It was a... It hit some of the beats that these movies always do, but that's okay. You're just doing, like you said, the technology is the escape. So what happens when AI gets too smart and learns about humanity like it does in almost every movie, Ultron or Skynet or whatever you want to throw out there. But it worked because that's what you came to this movie for. And I actually think, I agree that the acting wasn't amazing, but it was enough for the genre where you felt this little kid's pain and why she would pair so well with this doll that was like the answer to all her problems, and why her attachment was so intense. And then also I thought there are times where Megan's out in the world and regular people are interacting with her for the first time, and they all do the reaction that I think we all would, which is, holy, what is that? And it's just, I thought those reactions were pure and genuine, and that because we're all watching it as the movie, but it's still off-putting when you see her move and her eyes blink and she like follows you as you walk, and there's just something about it the whole time that you're like, ugh. There's a chill down your spine watching her because you're not quite sure what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. But that worked, and the music choices were fun, and everything about it was made with the intent to entertain, I thought, and that's what's fun in it. It wasn't dark, it wasn't mopey, it wasn't scary. It was just like a fun ride, even though it had the scares and some of that stuff. But it was meant to be an enjoyable experience where you come out going, well, that was a fun little movie. And of course, maybe setting up a sequel or something, and that's all fine. And I would enjoy a sequel to this, I think, if they do it right. So I agree. We get higher marks than I would have expected going into it.
Fair enough. Well, first time podcast guest, Mr. Ed South.
It's me.
How you are referred to a lot in this podcast because of your feelings about head trauma.
Yes.
There is some head trauma in this movie, so I'm very curious where you're at with this.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. How
Very
long have you guys
welcome.
been doing this show? 4?
Two and a half years.
Okay.
All I know is
Pre-pandemic.
the Joker is the first.
Correct.
We started right before the pandemic.
Well, yeah.
Joker
It
came
took
out
me
in
took me this
October.
long to get down here. I had to actually move down here. To get
That's
going
the whole
to
purpose
show,
you moved, yeah.
because I was an hour
Get
away.
on the spot.
I've also would like to announce that I've abandoned the head trauma. What do you call it? Fear that I have.
Oh,
Bring it on!
personal growth.
Doesn't
all right.
mean I won't see a movie next week with head trauma and pass out, but
Yep.
so am I supposed to talk about M3gan now?
Yes.
Matt, am I going to be the only one who didn't like it?
Well, you'll have
You'll
to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see.
We don't know.
We're all about
So,
gut
we're all
reactions
About
here.
gut reaction.
All right, so this is not my normal cup of tea either. As you guys know, I have a very small wheelhouse of what appeals to me, mostly things with Smurfs or Muppets in it. But no,
And that's not a bad place to be.
yeah. But I saw this trailer and I thought it looked interesting and a little out of my zone. And of course, when I first saw it, I assumed it was rated R and just going to be full throttle violence and gore, which it turned out when I saw it was PG-13. I knew M3gan and I were going to pair well. See what I did there? So then the movie starts, and that first scene is fantastic. Yeah. It's like a little parody of a YouTube video or a toy commercial. And then the second scene when they're in the car and she's got the little Furby thing with her, and the Furby, I know it's not with the perpetual
it's
pet.
Definitely meant to be.
Yeah, I think they actually just used a Furby. It looked like they used a Furby. The Furby was acting like it was like over the top, like very Saturday Night Live almost kind of a thing. Like it's like, okay, this is gonna be really tongue in cheek or whatever. And then they, as you said, they get hit by the snowplow, the parents die, whatever. And then it just turned for me, and like I think the next scene was them in the lab building the robot, or maybe it was her coming to, I forget which order it was, but it was just like it just went on and on and on, and I'm like, where's M3gan? Like, this is what we came for, is M3gan, and it felt like a long time before we got to M3gan, and the whole story with, I mean, Todd, you dug something out of that about the how we grieve, which I know they did mention, and you make a completely 1,000% valid point, but I didn't.
It certainly wasn't at the forefront of the movie.
Like
it wasn't the purpose of the movie. Let's just say that it's there, and it becomes more prevalent kind of near the end, but it's not like
preach.
Yeah, no, right. It wasn't preaching.
No, not at all.
So by the time M3gan finally gets on screen, I was kind of like, finally. And then it felt like it took forever for her to get into violent, whatever, evil M3gan mode. So I just kind of got out of it by the time M3gan got there. There were some cute parts and funny parts, and I felt I don't watch a whole lot of things that are meant to scare you, but I didn't find it scary at all. The one scene where she goes in for the dog was a little tensely filmed. But then other than that, it was just, And then the end, when she kind of goes on like her killing spree, it was kind of fun, but at that point it was so ridiculous. And I have many questions, like, without giving things away, why in an office building is there like a 1950s paper chopper there with a little, fair. Yeah, like nobody uses those anymore, or why that like $6 billion car was sitting outside with the keys apparently in it, or maybe M3gan could just hotwire a car. Who knows? AI'd it. Okay, that makes sense then. I give it 5 stars then. No, but in the end, I left disappointed. I just didn't think it was very good. People are loving it though, but as you two did. But I
did audibly say when it was discussed in the theater, I was like, why? It was my first question when they started talking about the robot in the beginning. It was like, oh yeah, here's this titanium skin. I was like, why in the world is this toy made of titanium? Yeah. Certainly not without its faults.
Probably to go to the song bit in the middle. That was
yeah, we had to pay it off, I guess.
Well, and then the other weird thing for me was with payoffs, like, there's a scene in the beginning where they kind of like, somebody's stealing our ideas. We gotta nip that in the bud or whatever. And then like 5 minutes later, you see the guy like slam his laptop down. And it's like, oh, he's sending the, he's the spy or the mole or whatever. And then that went absolutely nowhere. That storyline never got revisited until briefly mentioned near the end, but it didn't play. Also, did we ever find out what happened to the dog? Like, that was just kind of...
We did.
We did?
It was buried 35 feet away and 5 feet
but
under.
We were just told that.
Yes.
I needed to see it.
I don't think a PG-13 movie...
I'm really into violence against dogs, so I need to see it.
Yes. But I think that's my thoughts.
Okay.
Fair.
It's kind of lackluster for me. And I don't, like I said, I don't watch this type of movie much, but I felt like I'd seen this dozens of times before, where something is assigned to somebody, be it usually a robot of some sort. I feel like there was a movie with a dog in the 90s, like a robot dog, and then like the dog, does everything to protect its keeper. That feels like that's something that's...
Another trope for sure.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, it's not in any of the Muppet movies, but I know it's
ignored animated musical, but...
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well,
Matt, where are you at?
Well, here's where I'm at. I
Mr.
think
Horror.
I would not call this a horror movie.
No, I wouldn't either.
Correct.
And I would say that I'm probably more aligned with Ed's thinking on this movie than Tim and Todd. But so I agree with you, Ed. I think that this movie had way too slow of a burn for me.
Nice.
Like I would have liked to get right to Megan and get her going, and let's see what she has to offer us. But I don't know. Okay, we went story heavy. Fine, we go story heavy. But I did not think that the story really carried the movie very well. Like I thought that the story was mostly uninteresting. However, there were ridiculous parts in this movie, and that's always going to get me. I'm always going to like the absurd things. I'm going to like the robot singing Bulletproof and talking about how she's titanium because she is. So there was plenty of those like little chuckle at it moment, or I can't believe they did that, or that was ridiculous moments that kind of kept me somewhat involved in what was going on. I do like a good technology movie, and we're talking about modern tech, and we're talking about what kind of impact will AIs have on the world. Okay, that's kind of interesting to me too, but we didn't spend a lot of time on that. We spent mostly just like, oh, I think the robot is killing people. Oh, we should stop that. Not like, how would we design an AI to make it behave ethically in the world? No, we didn't really get into that too much. So, overall, I tolerate this movie. I did not love it. I did not really even like it. But I did. There were parts of it that were fine, funny, cute, whatever, what have you. There's a smattering of that thrown in there, and I thought that I have to give kudos to the child actor who plays Megan. I know there's a lot of like special effects, CGI, makeup, etc. But I thought that that kid did a good job of portraying a robot in a very robotic way. So that's cool. But I don't recommend really seeing this movie. Would be my thoughts. So
Fair enough.
there we have it.
Is it because it didn't go too far into horror? Like if it was like really, like
Chucky level.
yeah, would you be like, I'm back in?
Maybe. It depends how they
As
did
the
it.
only person who truly digs horror movies in
I
the
mean,
car here.
The only really horror part of it that we got was a boy getting his ear ripped off.
Yeah, I guess fair.
And everything else, I mean, at the end, the confrontation at the end, there's some elements there, but most of the damage is absorbed by the robot, not by actual people. So
It was more action than horror.
it was more action.
The scene with the dog and the scene when she went for the neighbor were suspenseful,
Yes.
I thought. And then at the end when she goes on the killing spree in the office building,
Yeah.
that was like,
Well, that was over the top.
yeah, but that was like, it was like for a brief minute, you guys saw Violent Night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like going for that kind of a thing, like let's go over the top with the violence, but then the camera was like positioned so you didn't even see it.
Well,
Right.
that was when they
To
decided
maintain
go
Yeah,
the
they went-
PG-13.
Right.
Yeah, maybe they're like, man, a lot of kids are gonna want to see this movie.
Right.
Yeah, apparently
Right.
it was an R-rated cut, and they dialed it.
That'll be released
But
later.
yeah, they already announced that.
Yeah,
And then
they dialed it back. Yeah.
the end scene where they're fighting was just like actiony instead of horror.
Yeah.
I did like the giant robot coming into play at the end.
That was nice.
Yes.
That was a good touch.
Speaking of payoffs, yeah.
I think we were talking about this coming out of the theater. I think we're all ready for a movie where AI is created and AI helps humanity.
Yes.
Instead of
Doesn't
turns
assume
on
the worst. Yes.
And that's where Small Wonder the movie comes into play.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'm all for. Well, now we have the templates. Or Small Wonder.
Which one was Small Wonder?
The robot girl.
Okay.
Vicky.
Next door neighbor.
So not
Vicky.
what was the Kirk Cameron one?
Oh, wow.
Where he,
Not
as
quite
a kid,
human.
not quite human. I kept trying to
wasn't
pull
Kirk.
that
Wow.
joke,
That was Jay
but I
Under-
just,
that was Jay Underwood.
Oh, yeah.
oh,
Yeah, is
My
that
bad.
what you're thinking of?
yes,
I don't
yeah.
think
Where
it's the
it's
dad.
basically,
That's
yes,
it.
Not
yes.
quite human.
Nice.
This is a
Alan
great
Thicke
movie.
was the dad.
I kept
That's why you
trying to
thought of-
make that joke after you brought up Small Wonder, and I was
No,
like,
not
I
quite human.
cannot remember the name of that.
There were
stupid-
3 of those, I think.
Yes.
All
Let's
right.
get those back, too.
Those were good.
Well,
How
now we
has that not
gotta
been
we gotta
done?
get down to business here.
Okay.
All right. How many power washers would you give this movie? Which power washer is used in a death that I enjoyed because power washers are the devil if you've ever been sprayed by one, as I have. So, obviously 5 being the best because then you got 5 power washers
Everything's
and
clean.
you could be killing 5 people at one time efficiently. 0 being the worst because then you have no power washers and you can't kill or clean or anything. You're just useless. Let's start with Matt.
We'll start with me, and it will get a very simple 2 power washers out of 5. It wasn't quite an average movie for me. There was enough there that it wasn't a total crater, but I didn't really like the movie.
Fair enough.
So, 2.
2 for Matt. Tim?
I will go higher. I did enjoy it and found myself laughing at the parts that were supposed to be funny and also just kind of creeped out by Megan, so which is, I think, the desired effect. She's model 3, and I will go with a 3.
I like that.
See what you did there? Mr. Ed, for your first ever rating
Of
on
Power
our
Washers.
podcast of Power Washers.
It was watchable, so I have to go above 1. 1 star is like my unwatchable. It was coherent. It was watchable. It was enthralling enough, I guess, but not much more than that. I'm going to say 2. 2 power washers.
All right.
Excellent.
Well, there are some indicators that happened to me in this movie, which is why it's going to get a good rating from me. At no point did I wonder what time it was, and I wanted to leave the theater.
Yep.
Not much head rubbing, which is my tell
Yes.
of when I'm not having a good
There
time.
was some sighing, though.
I did hear some sighing from you. I knew that it wasn't going to get a great rating from you based off of the amount of sighing I heard.
You hear giggles from me. That's usually a good sign.
Yeah,
Haven't
Tim's
you?
giggling, which is just Tim every day, all day. So you're a mystery. I couldn't read you.
Nope.
I can't believe I'm giving this rating, and knowing me, over the next couple of days, I'm gonna pick this movie apart and find a lot of things that
Gut
I don't
reactions.
like about it. But this is the gut reaction. I'm going to 3.5,
Holy
which
cow!
is
I like it.
which is high for a movie like this, and
Wow.
just maybe it just hit me at the right day
Yeah.
and night. I don't know.
That's okay. Gut reaction.
Yeah, that's what we do here.
That's what we do
It
here.
seems over on the internet, this movie is winning people over. So
It's very popular.
It's unusual because
Yeah.
it's uneven, and it's not like full horror. Like
Right.
There were definitely some guffaws in this movie at certain scenes that I wasn't even expecting laugh moments.
I
think people liked scenarios in this movie.
I really think that what hit me was the fact that the suspense was built through awkwardness
Yes.
and weirdness,
And
not
creepiness. Yes.
not through traditional
Scary.
like
yeah.
kind of stuff like that. That's just me.
Yes.
It's like
Well,
they use the Uncanny Valley to best effect.
yes. The Uncanny Valley. Thank you for that reference, Tim.
Gotcha.
Appreciate it.
We're digging deep this podcast.
That's what we do.
Our references.
You might also like to know that the musical numbers that Ms. Megan performs are on the soundtrack.
As they should be.
Available on Spotify.
Better-
And
better sell
Titanium
that.
has been playing nonstop in our house.
That's what I'm
Excellent.
going to go to bed to. Probably tonight.
Is it the original version or is it her
It's
version?
Herbert. It's
Oh,
There's
nice.
There's 2 songs on the
That's
soundtrack.
Does
And
she
the
do
sound-
just the little
Yeah, that's what I was
short
asking.
piece or is it the whole
I
thing?
think it's just what's in the
Oh,
movie.
Oh,
No, that's still good.
Yeah.
it's going to be my ringtone.
My rating
From
is
now on.
changing now.
Well, that's the sound. That's the soundtrack.
We're not rating the
Sorry, the soundtrack.
Yes. All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Ed, would you like to plug anything?
Well,
since you're on here.
First of all, I am honored to be in the presence of a not quite human reference. So
yes,
thank
I
you. Not quite human 1, 2, and 3, and why aren't those on Disney Plus?
That's a good
Yeah, come on,
thank you.
Disney.
Thank you.
I only have the third one in my collection. So.
Still not quite human.
Yes, very good. And I literally hope this leads to a Small Wonder revival.
Revolution.
Even if it's a horror movie.
No, you
like
put it
a
on Netflix. That's
Silly
fine.
horror movie. Yeah, and then you want me to plug something? I do have a podcast on exclusively on Spotify because it's so fancy. The Wacky Tacky Music Machine, where you can hear me play 30 to 40 minutes of some of the worst records ever produced by mankind.
Love it.
And that's on Spotify only. But enjoy. If you don't pay for Spotify, you can still listen. It just cuts the songs down to 30 seconds, which might actually improve the show. So there
Nice.
you
I
go.
want people to listen.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Cool. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we review the movie M3gan or M3gan.
How are they going to name the sequel?
M3gan squared.
There you go. I like that.
The Forgan?
M3 to the second power,
Yeah, they'll
aka
come up with
9.
something.
What if the sequel is like,
They're
and this is
already
where I think they succeed with the sequel. What if a sequel is vastly different and it's much more of a horror movie?
A different AI.
Like now that like first one is a soft build. Here's the character. Here's where the flaws were, stuff like that. Second one is like
They think they've
she's
mastered it.
completely
Yeah,
loose,
right.
Hard R rating.
has built her own body, and it's down to killing.
Built her own body. Wonderful.
The way the film market is now, they could probably put 2 versions out and it would do
Yes.
That is
same
true.
time,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah, you're
theaters.
right.
Like, no one's done that, or at least not
Not
any.
long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like when there was 3 endings of Clue,
Which is fantastic.
but yeah, they could handle it.
Yes. I await this happening. All right. Well, so what did we think of this movie? We gave it an average rating of 2.625 power washers out of 5, which is slightly above average, and I think it reflects our naysayers versus our positive attituders. We were a bit split on this movie, and that's okay because we're all entitled to our own reactions. But you know, we have to say it ended up above average, and so see it if you want to. If you are a big fan of Almost Human, or
Not quite.
Not Quite Human, or Small Wonder, or Not
Chucky.
Quite Wonder, or Chucky, maybe this movie's for you. But or maybe this movie's more for you than
Maybe.
other
If you were so inclined, you would
viewers.
probably enjoy it.
Is there
Yes.
no other is there no other evil toy movie
I'm sure there are more.
franchise that we know of?
I mean,
Demonic Toys. I was just
Small Soldiers.
So I was to say Small Soldiers.
That's a good one too.
Small Soldiers, but they weren't evil.
There were evil
They were
ones.
on a killing
Certainly
spree.
did turn.
So that was even like, you could almost argue it was more evil because those bad toys were against a certain population
Yeah.
that one might say was a minority.
Right.
You know.
I need to revisit
Yes.
Archer, Emissary of the Gorgonites.
Thank you. I was about to give that quote. I did enjoy that we got, speaking of Small Soldiers, we did get a little revisiting of the famous Martika hit, Toy Soldiers.
Yes.
In instrumental form only.
Yes.
Which the
Yes.
kids today will not pick up.
Right. But
that
we
was
will,
we did.
as almost
That was
50-year-old
definitely-
men or 40-year-old men, we'll pick that up and spill it out.
Carry it with us.
Yes. Carry it in our hearts. Well, anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you all, podcast listeners, downloaders, subscribers, for doing that. Please continue to do that. And we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.